Tarra Simmons is the first formerly incarcerated state legislator in Washington state. She went from teen mother to felon to lawyer and now a state representative. As special correspondent Kat Wise reports, she overcame barriers that she and many other people face after serving time in prison. This story is part of our series, Searching for Justice.
In a courthouse in Kitsap County, across Puget Sound from Seattle, Tarra Simmons recently shed a title that's burdened her for more than 2 decades, convicted felon.
I have signed the orders vacating the felony convictions, and so the relief you're seeking, Ms. Simmons, is granted. Congratulations.
It's like true liberation. Everything that I do in my life going forward is the opportunities I have are based on my own merit. And I can't wait to have grandbabies so I can volunteer in their schools.
All of these things that you couldn't do before.
Yes. This is my 2 boys.
Today, Simmons is a state representative, a lawyer, mother of 2 adult children, and the founding director of a nonprofit. But her journey to this point was long and difficult.
I was exposed to a lot of violence when I was young. I was sexually abused. I grew up in poverty. And by the time I was 13 years old, I was dropped out of school completely. I was homeless. I was trafficked. I ended up pregnant at 14.
As a teen mom, Simmons was connected to social services, graduated from high school at 16, and enrolled in community college. She went on to get a nursing degree, but just a couple of years later, Simmons pled guilty to second-degree assault for her involvement in an attack on a man she had been involved with.
My first felony conviction was related to meeting a gentleman who sexually assaulted me. And then 3 days later, my friends and family beat him up. And that really, really changed the course of my life.
Years later, an injury from a fall led to a prescription for painkillers, which led to a substance use disorder and an addiction to meth.
Within 10 months of trying the methamphetamine, I had been arrested 3 times. I had left my family and lived homeless and I completely ruined my entire life.
Simmons was eventually charged with 5 felonies, including for theft, drugs, and having a gun in her car. She served 20 months in prison.
Incarceration really added another layer of trauma because I already had no self-worth, no self-esteem.
But it was in prison that Simmons decided to set out on a new path after being released, thanks to a group of volunteer law students who encouraged her to become a lawyer herself.
I always thought that lawyers were these super elite, like untouchable people, but they reassured me and they said, no, like you can be like us, be like social justice lawyers. And I'm like, what?
After being released, Simmons enrolled at Seattle University School of Law and graduated with honors in 2017. But soon after, hit a major snag. The Washington State Bar Association ruled that she couldn't take the exam to be a lawyer because of her criminal background.
The Volunteer Character and Fitness Board thought that I felt too entitled to take the bar exam and that I was too proud of my accomplishments.
They actually
said
that?
Those things, yes.
How did that feel?
Well, at the time, it felt completely traumatizing. I had taken out, over $200,000 in loans to go to school. I had done everything right.
Please be seated.
Simmons appealed the Bar Association's decision to the state Supreme Court.
If rehabilitation is the touchstone of present character, which I think this court should hold, then Ms. Simmons really her record of rehabilitation makes this an easy case for the court.
She was represented by Sean Hopwood, himself a formerly incarcerated lawyer. And within hours of hearing the case, the court ruled in her favor.
I just started crying. I could not believe it. And the fact that they did it so quickly and it was unanimous was really validating.
Simmons became a fixture in Olympia, the state capital, as an advocate serving on the State Reentry Council and supporting legislation to ease barriers for formerly incarcerated people. In 2020, she was elected to the state legislature.
There always had to be one person that went first to break those ceilings, right? To make it more normal. And so that's why I live my life so transparently, because I feel like I'm normalizing it for other people who don't have to live in shame anymore about their past and can say, yes, I did those things and I've changed.
It really matters to have at least one person in the room when you're making decisions who has lived the life.
Senator Drew Hansen worked closely with Tarra Simmons when she was advocating for the very bill that allowed her to recently vacate her convictions.
I want to thank Representative Hansen and Tarra Simmons, who's here.
They became colleagues in the State House after her victory.
Representative Simmons' perspective on drug treatment and drug policy is extraordinarily valuable because she's in long-term recovery. You're making a decision about what's going on in the prisons. Well, she spent time in prison. It's transformative. It changes the entire conversation.
Simmons also continues to work with the nonprofit she co-founded in law school, Civil Survival, which supports people impacted by the criminal justice system, including helping vacate or clear past convictions.
Hi, Sarah.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
So cute. Good.
Oh,
I love you.
I love you too.
I love that.
Sarah Eichhorn is one of her clients. They met in prison when Simmons was incarcerated, and Eichhorn was volunteering to help people with substance use issues. Eichhorn had been incarcerated herself after an altercation during a supervised visit with her son when she was a teenager, a time when she was battling drug addiction.
I got sent off to prison and was just there for like 5 or 6 months, not too long. But yeah, so I got out, and that's really hard to get a job.
For the last 18 years, Eichhorn has not had any run-ins with the law, but her felony record has been a big obstacle.
I feel like I have to kind of live on the fringe a little bit still. I would love to not have to explain my worst day ever, my son's worst day ever, to anyone again, you know?
I am hopeful that they're going to move it up.
Simmons is helping her friend apply for a pardon to erase that record.
You know, you make one bad decision, make one mistake, and that does define you. And it's unfortunate because you can make hundreds, thousands, millions of good decisions since then and still be discriminated against to meet your basic human needs.
Eichhorn says she's still a bit amazed that she's seen her friend go from prison to law school to the state capitol.
I used to think they were all aliens, you know what I mean? Like politicians and stuff, but she really is a normal person, and people don't know what they don't know.
For Tarra Simmons, imparting what she knows to help others like herself has become her calling.
Not everybody's going to get into law and politics like me, or even into advocacy, but I just want people to have the opportunities to do whatever it is that they want to do. And, you know, fortunately, my job today allows me to break down some of those barriers for them.
Barriers that Simmons hopes will continue to fall in Washington state and around the country for formerly incarcerated people. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Kat Wise in Bremerton, Washington.